And now it's time for a preview of an upcoming game by Tom Vasel.
Today I'm doing a preview for a game called Gemblo. Now Gemblo was actually has been out for a while, but it came out in the country of Korea. And the purpose of this Kickstarter is to bring Gemblo here to America or to other English-speaking countries who might see this. And I'm so glad that it did. I first played Gemblo, well, I don't know, 6 years or so ago, designed by Justin O. It was a very interesting, abstract game. Let me show you what it's like. Here is the board that you play Gemblo on. Now this is a board that you will be using the entire thing for 6 players. With 6 players, each player is going to start in one of the corners. If you're playing with fewer players on the board, and it's hard to see in this lighting, but you can see little butterflies there. Those are the only spaces you're allowed to use in a 3-player game. In a 4-player game, there's a square, and you can see the corner of this square here. And that anything inside that's on that square or inside that square is fair game. And again, it's not so easy to see here from the video, but when you're playing, it's pretty easy, and they even have numbers. There's a 4 here, and there's a 3 there to show where 3 and 4 players start. For 5 players, it's a little more funky. You just use one of the colors that you're not normally using, and some of those pieces are put on the board, and then there's a special spots for 5 players. But the game does play best with 3, 4, or 6 players, or even 2 players. In the case of 2 players, you play a 4-player game, and each player has 2 different colors. Each player will take several pieces of their color, and you can see all the different pieces here, and they are made up of hexagons, 1 to 5 of them. So you have one piece that's just 1 here, all the way up to several pieces which have 5, which are in all different patterns and shape. Everyone has the same shape. It doesn't matter which way it's turned, and you're going to be placing as many of these shapes onto the board. The basic rules of Gemblo are the very first, when it's your turn, the very first shape you put down, you're going to put down starting in your corner. Or if you're playing, like, let's say a 4-player game, this is where the 4-player corner is, but we'll just pretend it's a 6-player game. You can put any piece down you want. You can put down this piece, or I could put down this piece. It doesn't matter. Each piece after that must be able to be connected to another piece you already have by a line. Do you see the line there that's connecting those? They can never go adjacent. You can never put a piece next to another piece. At the same time, this would not be allowed because there's no line. There's one hex in between them, but no line. This is allowable because I can draw a straight line from this piece to this piece. And so when you put out the next piece, I could go all the way from this piece here, or I could start from my original piece. Now, as the game progresses, you are going to be having other players put their pieces, they can put their pieces next to yours. And I can't put a piece from one line to another line like this if that line cuts through another block. That's impossible. So players can use their blocks to cut off other people. If, however, it's between 2 blocks, let's say these 2 colors are here, I can then place this here because I can draw a line between the 2 blocks. And you're going to keep going in the game, placing out the blocks one at a time. Now we're going to stop right here. The game is not yet over. There are still pieces that the different players can be, but you can see how the game will progress. You can shoot out as far as you can and try and spread, but you still will have a good chance of being cut off. As you can see here, the clear, which is hard to see in the video, but you can see them when I move them. They're kind of shut off into this corner. While green and red did a decent job and purple of expanding, blue went to one side, but again, blue might have trouble getting into another section. Especially as you use the different pieces, there'll be some pieces left over that you can't use. So if we pull out here, you'll see all the pieces, of the players that aren't used yet. When the game is over, when everyone has to pass because you can no longer play pieces, you will simply put all your pieces together and count the number of hexagons on them. Whoever has the fewest hexagons is the winner. What I just did there was kind of a puzzle where you can have a picture like this where it just shows you the picture. This is one that's from the rules, and then you can build it. You can find all sorts of these on the internet. There was even a book of them put together, and so even one person can play together trying to make different shapes or just playing it as kind of an art thing. Give it to a kid and say, see what you can quote-unquote draw or put together. And so that's Gemblo. Gemblo is really interesting. Now, some people have compared Gemblo to Blocus, and there are a lot of similarities, but one of the biggest differences, this is hexagons. But even more so than that, Gemblo has an advantage because it plays 2, 3, 4, 6 players, and 5 almost as well as each other. While in Blocus, you can play with 2 and 4. A 3-player game is quite bad. It also, Gemblo is unique because it's just so beautiful when you put it on the table. Putting the things down spatially at first can be a little bit, whoa, how do I put these down? You know, where am I going? But that means the strategy in this game is just immense. I've played Gemblo probably 60 to 100 different times. I played it. It's one of the few games that I played in a tournament setting, and there are people out there who are quite good at it. Although I would wager that if I played you and you not played before, I think that I would beat you just because there's a lot of different strategies and the way other people play their pieces. A 6-player game is very different than a 3-player game, and you can even play a 3-player game with 2 colors each, which makes that even more cutthroat. It's a very interesting design, and my kids like it also for the fact that they simply can just sit down and see what pictures they can make. So, if this interests you, get on board to get this Kickstarter going for Gemblo.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.